Some passengers never get out of the car. Before we begin, if you enjoy these true horror stories, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Today, I'm bringing you 4 disturbing experiences that taxi and Uber drivers had with passengers who weren't what they seemed. My name is James, and I'm 41 years old. I've been driving for Uber in New York City for 7 years. I've picked up thousands of people, all kinds. Business people, tourists, partiers, celebrities even. I thought I'd seen everything. But what happened to me in December 2019 around 4 a.m. taught me that there are passengers who get into your car from places they shouldn't be able to leave. There are things that can't be explained. What I experienced that night changed everything. It was a Friday morning, technically Saturday. I was finishing up my shift, heading home through Manhattan. I usually stop accepting rides after 3 a.m., but this request came through with a high surge price. The pickup was near Central Park, drop-off in Brooklyn. Good money for one last ride. I pulled up to the address. A woman was standing there, probably in her 30s. She was wearing a cocktail dress, heels, like she'd been at a party. But something was off. Her dress was wet, not just damp, soaking wet, and it wasn't raining. She got in the back. "Thank you for stopping," she said. Her voice was quiet, shaky. "No problem," I said. "You okay? You're soaking wet." "I fell in the fountain," she said, "at the party. So embarrassing." Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this with me. It's 4 a.m. A woman gets in your car soaking wet. She says she fell in a fountain, but you can smell something wrong. Not fountain water, something else. Something metallic, like blood. I started driving toward Brooklyn. The woman was quiet, staring out the window. I tried to make conversation. "Must have been some party," I said. "It was," she replied. "My engagement party. We were so happy. Everyone was there." "Congratulations." "Thank you. Though I'm not sure how it's all going to work out now." "Cold feet?" I joked. "Something like that." We drove in silence for a while. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror. The woman looked pale, too pale, and her clothes weren't just wet, they were leaving a puddle on my seat, a large puddle. "You're really soaked," I said. "You want me to turn up the heat?" "I'm not cold," she said. "I don't feel anything anymore." That was a weird thing to say. I looked at her more carefully in the mirror, and I saw something that made my blood run cold. She wasn't breathing. Her chest wasn't moving at all. "Miss, are you okay?" I asked. "I drowned," she said calmly, "in the fountain. Everyone thought I was drunk, playing around, but I couldn't swim. I never learned, and the dress was so heavy when it got wet. It pulled me down. I tried to call for help, but no one heard." My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter. "This isn't funny." "I'm not joking," she said. "I drowned 2 hours ago, but I need to go home. I need to tell my fiancé. He's waiting for me." I wanted to stop the car, wanted her out, but we were on the Brooklyn Bridge. I couldn't just stop in the middle of traffic. "Look, I don't know what kind of prank this is." "It's not a prank." She leaned forward. "Please, just take me home. That's all I want. To go home one last time." We reached Brooklyn. I pulled up to the address she'd given. A brownstone, lights on inside. I could see people through the window. The party was still going. "We're here," I said. "That's $28. I turned around. The back seat was empty, completely empty. But it was soaking wet, water everywhere. And in the water, floating, was an engagement ring. I picked it up. It was real gold, real diamond, expensive. I got out of the car and went to the brownstone, knocked on the door. A man answered, mid-30s, looking worried. "Yes?" he asked. I had a woman in my car. She said this was her address. She was soaking wet. She left this." I showed him the ring. The man's face went white. He grabbed the ring, looked at it. Where is she? Where's Amanda? She was just in my car. She disappeared. The man ran past me to the street, looking around frantically. Amanda! He shouted. Other people came out of the house. Everyone started looking, calling her name. What happened? I asked someone. Amanda fell in the fountain 2 hours ago, a woman said, crying. We pulled her out, but she wasn't breathing. The ambulance took her to the hospital. They're still trying to. They said she might not make it. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. James? A woman's voice. Official. This is Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. Your Uber app shows you recently picked up Amanda Chen? Yes, but she was pronounced dead 15 minutes ago. Her family would like to know if she left any belongings in your vehicle. I stood there, in shock, holding the engagement ring. Amanda had gotten into my car after she was already dead. She'd tried to come home one last time. I gave the ring to her fiancé, didn't charge him for the ride, drove home in silence. I still drive for Uber, but I'll never forget Amanda. And sometimes, late at night, I smell that water smell in my car, and I know she's still there, still trying to get home. But James's experience isn't the only disturbing story I've heard from drivers. Recently, I read about Michael, a 38-year-old taxi driver from Los Angeles. What happened to him in March 2020 when he picked up a man asking to go to a specific address in the hills made him realize not all passengers know they're dead. Michael has been driving taxis in LA for 15 years. He knows the city inside out. Hills, valleys, beach areas, downtown. He's seen celebrities, criminals, everything in between. But he'd never seen anything like what happened that March night. There are things that can't be explained. What I experienced that night changed everything. It was a Tuesday around midnight. Michael was at a taxi stand near Hollywood when a man approached. He was in his 50s, wearing expensive clothes, suit, tie, leather shoes. Looked like he'd been to a business dinner. Can you take me to Mulholland Drive, number 2847? Sure, get in, said Michael. The man got in the back. He seemed agitated, nervous. He kept checking his watch, looking out the window. Everything okay? Asked Michael. I need to get home, the man said. My wife is waiting. I told her I'd be home by 10. It's past midnight now. She's going to be so worried. Traffic? Asked Michael. No, something else. Something... I can't remember what happened. I was driving home and then nothing. Just blank. And now I'm here. Michael started driving up into the hills. Mulholland Drive winds through the Hollywood Hills. Expensive houses, great views. It's also dangerous. Steep cliffs, sharp turns. You feeling okay? Michael asked. You sound confused. I feel strange. Like I'm here, but not here. Like I'm watching myself from outside. You'd feel uncomfortable now. This man sounds like he's having a mental health crisis. Or maybe drugs. Or maybe something else entirely. Something you don't want to think about. They drove higher into the hills. The houses got more spread out. The road darker. It was around here, the man suddenly said. This is where it happened. Where what happened? The accident. I lost control. The car, it went over. Michael looked at the side of the road. No guardrail, just a steep drop into darkness. When was this? Michael asked carefully. Tonight, just now. Or was it? What time is it? 12:30 a.m. And what date? March 17th, 2020. The man was quiet for a moment. That's impossible. It's March 17th, 2019. Tonight, I left the restaurant at 9:30. I was driving home. Sir, it's 2020. March 17th, 2020. No, that's wrong. That's a year from now. They arrived at the address. A large house, dark, no lights on. Michael pulled into the driveway. We're here. $42. The man stared at the house. The lights are off. Maria always leaves lights on when she's waiting for me. Maybe she's asleep, suggested Michael. No, she would wait up. Something's wrong. The man got out of the car. Michael watched as he walked to the front door, tried the handle, locked. He knocked. No answer. Then the man did something strange. He walked straight through the door, literally passed through it like it wasn't there. Michael sat in his car, frozen, staring at the closed door the man had just walked through. After several minutes, Michael worked up the courage to get out. He walked to the door, looked through the window. The house was empty, furniture covered in sheets, like no one had lived there for a while. If you're enjoying this, leave a like and tell me in the comments, have you ever experienced something paranormal in a taxi, Uber, or anywhere else? I'd love to read your story. The next day, Michael did research. He found the property records. The house had been sold in 2019. The previous owner, Richard Morrison, died March 17, 2019 in a car accident on Mulholland Drive. Single car accident, went over the cliff. His wife Maria had sold the house and moved away months later. Richard had been trying to get home. For a whole year he'd been trying, and Michael had finally given him a ride there. Michael still drives taxis, but he won't pick up passengers on Mulholland Drive at night anymore, because he learned that some people don't know they died. They just keep trying to get home, over and over and over. And speaking of people trying to complete unfinished business, I need to share what happened to Rachel, a 33-year-old Uber driver from Chicago. In July 2021, she picked up a teenage girl who needed to get to her school. What Rachel discovered during that ride broke her heart and changed her forever. Rachel has been driving for Uber for 4 years. She likes the flexibility, likes meeting different people. She's had interesting conversations, made people laugh, helped people in small ways. But what she did for this girl was something she'll never forget. There are things that can't be explained. What I experienced that night changed everything. It was a Thursday evening, around 8 p.m. Rachel got a ride request, pick up in a residential area, drop off at a high school. Strange time for a school drop-off, but maybe it was an evening event. Rachel pulled up to the address. A teenage girl was waiting, maybe 16 years old. She was wearing a school uniform, carrying a backpack. She looked nervous. "Hi," said the girl. "Thanks for coming." "No problem. Going to school kind of late, aren't you?" "I have something I need to do there, something important." They started driving. The school was about 15 minutes away. The girl sat quietly, looking out the window. "I'm Emma, by the way," the girl said suddenly. "Nice to meet you, Emma. I'm Rachel." "Rachel, that's a pretty name." "Thanks. So what's at school that's so important?" Emma was quiet for a moment. "I need to leave something for my best friend. Something I should have left a long time ago." "What is it?" "A letter. I wrote it before everything changed. I need her to have it, so she knows it wasn't her fault." "What wasn't her fault?" Emma didn't answer. They drove in silence for a while. Then Emma said, "Can I tell you something, Rachel?" "Of course." "I died 6 months ago." Rachel's hands tightened on the wheel. "Emma, that's not funny." "I'm not joking. I killed myself 6 months ago. In my room. Pills. I left a note for my parents, but not for my best friend. And she thinks it's her fault. We had a fight the day before about something stupid. She thinks that's why I did it, but it wasn't. I was already planning it. The fight didn't matter." Rachel didn't know what to say. Was this girl mentally ill, having a crisis? "Emma, if you're thinking about hurting yourself, I already did it, Rachel. 6 months ago. I'm dead. But I came back because I need to fix this. My friend is suffering. She dropped out of school. She's seeing a therapist. All because she thinks she killed me. I need to tell her it wasn't her fault." They arrived at the school. The parking lot was empty except for one car. A woman was sitting in that car, crying. "That's her mom," said Emma. "She comes here every Thursday, parks in the same spot where she used to pick me up, just sits there and cries." Rachel looked at Emma. In the dim light, she could see that Emma looked faded, almost. "Emma," Rachel said gently, "what do you need me to do?" "Give her the letter," Emma said, holding out an envelope. "Please, tell her to give it to Sarah. Tell her it's from me." Rachel took the letter. It felt real, solid. "Will you do it?" Emma asked. "Yes, I promise." "Thank you, Rachel. You're a good person." Rachel looked down at the letter for just a second. When she looked up, Emma was gone. The back seat was empty. Rachel sat there for a moment, heart pounding. Then she got out of the car and walked to the woman crying in the other car. She knocked on the window. The woman looked up, startled. Rachel held up the letter. The woman's eyes went wide. She got out of the car. "Where did you get that?" the woman whispered. "A girl gave it to me. She said to give it to Sarah." The woman took the letter with shaking hands, looked at it, started crying harder. "This is Emma's handwriting. How do you have this?" "She was in my car. She said Sarah needed to read it." The woman opened the letter right there, read it, sobbed. "She says it wasn't Sarah's fault. She says she was already planning it. Sarah needs to see this. She needs to know." Rachel drove away, not charging for the ride. She never saw Emma again, but a few weeks later she saw a post on social media. Sarah, Emma's friend, posting about getting closure, about finally forgiving herself, about a letter that had saved her life. Rachel still drives for Uber, and she believes now that sometimes people come back to fix what they left broken, and sometimes a stranger can be the bridge between the living and the dead. And to close out these unsettling accounts, I want to share what happened to David, a 50-year-old taxi driver from Boston. In September 2022, David picked up an elderly man who wanted to go to a church. What David witnessed that night made him believe in the power of love beyond death. David has been driving taxis in Boston for 30 years. He's seen the city change, seen people come and go. He's had all kinds of passengers, but this one, this elderly man, was special in a way David will never forget. There are things that can't be explained. What I experienced that night changed everything. It was a Sunday evening, around 7 p.m. David was waiting outside a hospital when an elderly man approached his taxi. He was probably in his 80s, frail, using a cane. He wore an old suit, clean but outdated style. "Can you take me to St. Mary's Church?" the man asked. "Of course, sir. Let me help you," David said, getting out to help the man into the back seat. Once they started driving, the man spoke. "Today is my wedding anniversary. 62 years. Can you believe that?" "Wow, congratulations. That's amazing." "Yes. We got married at St. Mary's, September 14th, 1960. Best day of my life." "Your wife must be thrilled you remember." The man was quiet. "Margaret died 3 years ago, but I still go to the church every anniversary, sit in the same pew where we sat that day. It makes me feel close to her. I'm sorry for your loss." "Don't be. We had 60 years together, more than most people get, and I'll see her again soon." They arrived at the church. It was old, beautiful, with stained glass windows glowing from lights inside. "We're here. $12. "Could you wait for me?" the man asked. "Just 10 minutes. I'll pay you for the wait time." "Sure, no problem." The man got out slowly, walking with his cane towards the church. David watched him go inside. 10 minutes passed, then 15, then 20. David started to worry. He got out of the taxi and went into the church. It was empty, completely empty. No one was there. David walked down the aisle looking in each pew. No one. He checked the side rooms, the bathrooms, nothing. Then he saw something. On one of the pews, an old wedding photo. He picked it up. A young couple, 1960s style. The groom looked like a younger version of the man who'd been in the taxi. David looked at the back of the photo, written in faded ink, "Robert and Margaret Morrison, September 14th, 1960, forever." David asked the church secretary the next day. Robert Morrison had been a member of the church for 60 years. He had died 2 days before David picked him up. Heart attack at home. His funeral was scheduled for the following week. Robert had made one last trip to the church where he married the love of his life, and then he'd gone to be with her. David kept the photo, put it in his taxi on the dashboard, a reminder that love doesn't end with death. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you get to help someone make their final journey to where they belong. If you made it this far, leave a comment telling me which story impacted you most. And if you know someone who enjoys these tales, share the video. See you in the next volume.